Hello, everybody, and welcome to our code pudding for the evening. My name is Tiffany Hall. I'm an alumni of TripleTen Software Engineering Program, a full stack engineer at Scholastic Inc., the world's largest publisher of children's books, and a powerhouse in the digital education space, too. And tonight, I'm very excited to be the host of our December BIA code pudding. I'm really glad to see that our some of our team representatives were able to join us today. December is a tough month here in the States as everyone is rushing to celebrate all the winter holidays. Um, Also, great to see everybody at home. And so it is wonderful. Thank you so very much for your time and attention. This code pudding has been really great in uniting our current business intelligence analyst students from all over the US. So let's talk a little bit about what a code pudding is. If you're not quite familiar or new to this space, welcome. I can tell you a little bit about what a code pudding is. So at TripleTen, we have these short, friendly competitions that occur for our students during their normal coursework. They're very short. We're talking like 4 days, 5 days tops. And the group of students, they get together and then they are jamming out a bunch of work or they're putting in a lot of work to get results that meet our prompt. So this one, like I said before, is a code pudding because the content is really focused in this competition. It's a bit like a dessert at the end of the meal, right? Just a little pudding, a little sweetness. So my other favorite joke, of course, is always that our teams are always putting in the work on the data. So our code pudding consisted of two parts, working with the data and the presentation that you're going to see tonight. Last week, our participants were divided into teams and were challenged to collaboratively create visual essays and using provided data sets. Our teams had 5 days to make their projects, and today the teams are going to show their projects off to all of you at home, and our judges will spend the next week reviewing them, evaluating them, and then they will award our winners on December 18th. So we will have winners that are for the best data and presentation, and we will also have some winners for our audience favorites. So audience favorites, very important. So students are going to be voting for their audience favorites in the Discord polls. If you're not a student of ours just yet, then you can vote either below in the YouTube chat or you can vote on our socials. So then the winners will be announced on all of our socials and on our Discord as well. And they will receive probably a nice gift wrapped hairball from my cat Sharkbait. They'll probably receive something much nicer than that, just from experience. Okay, it is the time for the fun part. Let's talk to our teams and let's see what they've been able to accomplish and let's wish them the best of luck. The first team tonight is the Rockin' Stats Theorist with Samuel Thalen, Taylor Justison, and Ruby Nunez.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. We're the Rockin' Stat Theorist, and our topic is music and mental health survey results. Let's go ahead and go on to that next slide. Our concept is that there is an app called SoundMind. It collects data on listening habits and reported mental health stats and recommends music to improve focus and well-being. Our roles in this is that we're analysts hired by this app developer, and we're here to analyze the correlation between music listening habits and the self-reported mental health. Our goal is to provide evidence on how music has a positive effect on mental health states. Our target audience is individuals seeking to use music to improve their focus and mental well-being, with the stakeholders being mental health professionals, including counseling services, hospitals. Next slide, please. Kicking off the review, I wanted to see how many individuals were listening to music and for how long. So this first graph at the top there shows the bulk of individuals listening to music in the range of 1 to 4 hours, which tracks for more casual listening sessions. Based on the length of an average workday, we made cohorts consisting into 3 groups. Light engagement up to 4 hours, moderate engagement up to 8 hours or a full workday, and heavy engagement, anything beyond 8 hours. We can see in the next chart lower that beneath that the effect of listening to music on people's self-rated mental health states. There's an overwhelming majority of people reporting positive effects against all cohorts and all mental health states, with the average rating of mental health getting worse for the longer the individual is continuously applying themselves. This is most noticeable in the heavy engagement cohort, where people are working for more than 8 hours. Even those reporting improvement have high levels of stress. This goes to show that even with assistance in focusing and relaxing, overexertion still takes its toll. Next slide, please. The last topic I'm going to be discussing is the levels of mental health states while working and not working. While there's an obvious difference in mental health when not working, the other info gleaned from this is the degree of the various reported mental health states. Anxiety is the highest reported occurrence, with OCD being the least prevalent. I'm going to be passing it along now to Taylor, who's going to be speaking on the insights based on age groups. Taylor. Sorry, Taylor, you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, my stars. Thank you so much. I rocked my beginning, but I'll start over. Here we're going to be looking at 3 different cohorts, this time based off of age. So our youth is going to be up to 18 years old, young adults 18 to 29, and adults 30 and plus. It's worthy to note that the adult cohort did not have as much data backing it up as the youth and young adult. So keep that in mind as we review them. So starting with adults, we can see that as they start to listen for longer throughout the day, at least half the day or over, so 12 to 14 hours, across those 4 mental states, there's a peak, an obvious peak, indicating that it's probably not best for them to be listening over half the day. Now, if we look at young adults and their listening time throughout the day, it actually tells a different story, almost the opposite, where in that same range between, 14, 16 hours across the 4 different mental states, there's a bit of a divot, meaning that maybe those age groups are benefiting more when they listen throughout the day. As they go through the different transitions through these years 19 to 29. And finally, the youth. I care so deeply about the youth, so viewing this data was really cool to see that, as they tend to listen longer and longer, we see that steady decline in self-reported mental health. And, I think for youth, encouraging music listening to seek refuge from whatever they may be going through could be a good sign, as this data points out. And to be reporting on a couple other mental states in different dimensions, I'll pass it off to Ruby.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Taylor. Now I'm going to be discussing how mixing different genres, and the song pace of what these users are listening to can actually impact mental health states. And we actually found some interesting information in terms of EDM, the EDM genre. And when you never listen to EDM music, there's actually lower ratings across all the different mental health states, which we found very interesting, and showing that the genre you listen to does have an impact on your mental health. We also found that for people that mix different genres, for example, for OCD, and people that have a higher ratings of OCD tend to listen to different genres and are considered a high genre mixer. And for song pace, for both OCD and anxiety, we found that those who listen to very slow music have higher ratings in terms of their mental health. And as you can see here, where very slow has a higher rating than the counterparts. And also for anxiety, there's a much higher rating for very slow music. And since we couldn't get into every detail from this amazing data set, we have an interactive dashboard for people that want to have a more targeted focus group in terms of age, genre mixers, the different song paces, listening location, whether you're working or not working, and how it varies between different mental health states and genre. And over here is a summary of the average mental health ratings for each of the different genres, as well as different factors that can impact your mental health rating.
In conclusion, we know that each individual needs to be treated on an individual basis when it comes to their mental health. But based off of the data that we received, we would encourage to minimize engagement while working, to know that mental health ratings vary across the different age groups and how often you're listening, and that for users with higher anxiety, we would recommend not listening to slow songs. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Fantastic. I just want to know, do you guys have one of those filters for like, how does it impact you if you're listening to the Eras Tour set list for Taylor Swift? Because I feel like I need to have that data.
Unfortunately, artist wasn't included in the data set.
Safe to
Always
say that it
something.
probably improves your mental health, though.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
Clearly.
You can put pop music and see what that does.
Oh, okay. So that's a good start. Yeah. All right. Well, really impressive that you guys were able to go in so many different directions. And so, what was that process like when you guys got together, right? We talked at the briefing, but then you guys got together as a team. Have did you have an idea on what data set you wanted to start out with, or did you guys just say like each person pick a data set and we'll see which one we like best? What was your method there?
We kind of collaborated and talked about like what are the two most interesting things for each one of us, and based on that like smaller survey between the three of us, had that one overlapping interest in the music. So from there, we just literally took a day to just explore and kind of see like, well, what do you want to do? So we each pointed out one or two things we wanted to investigate, spent the day investigating, and came back the next day and solidified what we found, what was most interesting, and then like some of the stuff that like I researched supported what Taylor was initially interested in, and then so forth. So we were able to solidify after just literally digging into and getting our hands dirty with that.
Fantastic. And how was it working different time zones and across, all of the different expectations that, all of our students have to manage during coursework?
We had a funny system going where like it was like 1 hour behind at time and then 2 hours ahead. So any meeting schedule or proposed meeting time, it was just, oh, how's 9, 10, 12 sound for you? And just we knew that like I was the earliest time zone, Taylor was the next, and then Ruby was the latter. So it just we kind of got on board with it really quick. We all had similar availability, so it wasn't too bad.
and
Oh,
this
that's
was a
fantastic.
fantastic team. Everyone contributed. Truly, I hit the jackpot on the team. They were amazing. Very
Oh, that's
talented
wonderful to
people.
hear.
I second that. Amazing team. Like we met many times and we discussed the data set. We were also passionate about it too. So it just made everything so much easier when we were all working together, and like seeing everything come together in like 5 days is insane.
It is. It's a fast timeline. Um, all right. Well, that is our rocking stats theorist. Thank you guys so much. That team is Samuel Phelan, Taylor Justison, and Ruby Nunez. Thank you very much. All right, our next team is going to be the indomitable Peaceful Mind Seekers with Tasha Curtis and Sakina Jathing. All right, take it away, ladies.
All right, let me unmute myself here and share my screen. Okie dokie. Good evening, everyone. We are the Peaceful Mind Seekers, and I'm excited to introduce our team, myself, Tasha, and Sakina. Today, we're sharing a finding on the fascinating connection between music preference and mental health, like our team right before us. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. Music is a universal language. It deeply influences our emotions and our mental well-being. This study explores the intricate relationship between music preference and mental health, analyzing the data, which was about 737 respondents, to uncover key insights. And one of the key insights that we found was that they had like 12,520 self-reported observation covering mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, insomnia, and OCD. We hypothesize that the music significantly impacts psychological states, both positively and negatively, and that genre preference and listening habits could reveal patterns with therapeutic implications. So here, what we are learning in this overview is that there were a lot of people who had multiple mental health conditions simultaneously, highlighting the complex nature of just mental health in general. So we decided to look at the age range, and we saw that it was between teenagers and seniors, with our highest coming from the young adults, and the teenagers. So with that in mind, we went ahead to see what their average listening time would be. And as you can see, like our teenagers, they are the lead to listening to most of the music most of the time, following our young adults and our older adults, because music is just a significant part of daily lives for these groups of people. So looking at our favorite genres between the different mental health condition, we noticed that they listen to a lot. They like rock, they like pop, and they like metal, which was really interesting, seeing as though they have anxiety or depression. You wouldn't necessarily think that they would like this genre, but they do. And the BPMs for this music is like very high driven, and it is metal, which is really high for BPMs, and rock as well. And then we go down to pop, and the BPMs kind of associates themselves with energy and heightened energy and emotion. Yet while these are their favorite genres, it's not like they don't listen to, I'm sorry, I have this. It's not like they don't listen to calmer music like classical or composure, because they do. They may listen to it while at work or driving. There's not a big difference between the people who don't listen to it and who do listen to it, but it is part of it. It's just not part of the top 5 genre. So with that, I'll now hand it over to my teammate, and she will take you deeper into our analysis and share the implications of these findings. Turn your mic off. You're muted.
I am muted. Okay. Thank you, Tasha. I appreciate that. And hello, everyone. My name is Sakina, and I will be continuing our presentation focusing on the amount of time spent listening to music and the effect it has on the specific mental health disorders that we're analyzing. We're going to begin here with an overview of the various types of analysis that was done. And we're going to begin talking about the most favorite genres. Again, rock being number 1, then pop, and then metal. We'll continue with looking at the averages on a daily scale. So this basically tells us on a daily, the average number of hours people are listening to music. Moving on to very important data. Over here, this graph shows us the impact on the number of hours spent listening to music in comparison to the mental health rates. The darker the color shows us the more of an impact on the mental health. Now, based on the assumption that this data is self-reported, it's crucial to approach our following sheet with that context in mind. This data here highlights how individuals feel when they listen to music. It's evident that a significant portion of respondents report that they feel an improvement when they listen to music, while others do report a worsening of their conditions when they listen to music. Now, this interpretation can be further examined and debated as we move on to our following data. Now, over here, we have an analysis that encompasses all the mental health issues we're covering and compares the effect of music based on the hours that it's listening to. As we can clearly see looking at the trend lines, that music does have an effect on mental health. The more music a person listens to, the more it can affect their mental health. Now, looking at the 0 to 1 hour bucket, this does not show much of an effect and can even show a slight improvement on mental health. However, as we move on to 5+ hours of listening to music, we can see that there is a significant impact on mental health, and specifically, as you can see, with depression and insomnia. And as a whole, the results are quite clear. So in conclusion, this study highlights the complex relationship between music and mental health. While genres like rock, pop, and metal are popular and very much enjoyed, extended exposure to them can sometimes intensify negative emotions. So this paradox emphasizes the importance of mindful listening and tailoring our music choices to individual needs for positive mental health outcomes. Our recommendations are mindful listening practices, personalization of music therapy, awareness campaigns, further research, and a balanced music diet. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention.
All right, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so some quick behind the scenes information. So Sakina and Tasha had a really tough time with this code putting situation. They were like what happens in real life, right? They were on a team of 3, but then they were having some real tough times with a third teammate. And unfortunately, the teammate was asked to not participate with our team, because it's really important that we are able to provide the collegial experience that we're really hoping for, right? I know I talk about that quite a bit, about that being one of the highlights of my experience. But I did want to ask, because I know it's a question that I get asked a lot in LinkedIn and in all these places, about the kind of support that you both received. So I guess Sakina and Tasha, like, what was the support that you felt from the TripleTen team when you reached out with your issues?
So it's funny that you asked that because I'm an ambassador as well. And I was going to do a video and I was kind of torn about how was I going to talk about this.
Sure.
Actually, we did get a lot of good support right away, especially from you, Tiffany. You reached out first when we were just kind of very shocked. Yeah, we were shocked about what happened. We didn't really know what to
Sure.
do. You were the first person that kind of made us calm down and made us realize that we did handle it the right way. And that was important. And then Nadia was so helpful. She also came in and let us know, like, that type of environment is not one that we should be put in.
Yeah.
It was really uncomfortable for the both of us. I was really
But you
uncomfortable. I
guys
think I said
decided
it
to
like
stick it
several
out.
times.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah. And Tasha's really, I mean, from the get-go, she's just been amazing. It's really been amazing working with her. And again, I do want to thank you all for your support, Tiffany, and then also to include my Shushanik. So she's also
Yeah.
very helpful. She reached out to me again
Yeah.
today, just to go over the situation and just to let me know that, certain, just basically to just reassure me. So I really appreciate that. TripleTen's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience and a really great learning experience for me. I really appreciate everything that all the tutors and really everyone is doing such an amazing job here. Thank you.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. Like I said, the one thing that I always tell people about is the amazing community and building that community through these types of competitions. And, it's not always going to be perfect, right? Because there's personality conflicts and some people are just going to show their ass, as my mom would say. But, that isn't the important part. The important part is, one, how it's handled by TripleTen, right? And that is something that I continuously see opportunities for them to kind of step up and always kind of lean into the idea that they really want to support the learners and the learning environment in a professional and respectful way. And this was one of those moments too. So I'm glad that was your experience also.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
let's talk about your project now. So, what was something that was like a really surprising takeaway? Because I certainly had a surprising takeaway when you guys were showing your graphs about how like you definitely get some real benefit, but then the longer you listen, the more it just goes down and then it's actually hurting you.
Yeah.
So like what was the surprise that happened when you guys were going through the data?
I think for me, it was like the rock music. Like it was interesting because if you had used a sum, you got a different genre than an average, you got another genre. So it was really interesting to look at it that way and like seeing
Okay.
rock music and metal become like part of their favorite. It was like, whoa, that was really interesting to me. I would not think if I had insomnia that that would be my, I wouldn't say my choice of music, but to go to. But yeah, it seems like everyone would want to listen to the music that they favor more than the music that was more therapeutic for them.
Yeah, and I would like to add that I found it very interesting how the time that one spends listening to music has such a great effect. I mean, and it shows us that, yeah, listen to music, but then there has to be some level of control. And then it just
Mm.
reminds us about how everything has to be in balance, you know? And you can relate this to all aspects of life. There's got to be a balance for everything. So too much of something is not really that good for you, you know?
Sure, yeah, a balanced music diet, I think you called it.
Yes, a beautiful balance.
Well, thank you both so very much. I appreciate you guys sharing that. That is the Peaceful Mind Seekers. That is Tasha Curtis and Sakina J. Singh. Next, we have our Neuro Notes, and that team has a video that I am going to show. So this is the part where we all get to relive our flashbacks of sharing the screen and remote teaching. Share. Also the part where all of the participants who repeatedly are like, I'm not going fast enough, get to see you're not alone. We all take a minute when it takes time to share the screen. All right, so this is the Neuro Notes, and that team is Keith Showalter, Patrick Valera, and Monette Wagner. All right, here we go.
Hello, I'm Keith Showalter, and today our team NeuroNotes will be presenting to you our findings on how music affects mental health. NeuroNotes consist of myself, Manette Wagner, and Patrick Valera. We were drawn to this particular data set because we were very interested in finding any correlations between music and the way that it makes us feel. Our team began by cleaning the MX-MH survey results data set and looking for any possible connections we could make between the measures provided and whether or not they improved the mood of the respondents, worsened it, or had no effect at all. Within the data set, we were given information about respondents' favorite genre, whether or not they worked in a music-related industry, and their self-described levels of anxiety, depression, OCD, and so on. We were able to draw some interesting conclusions from this information, so we hope that you'll enjoy our presentation. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Mona, and like Keith mentioned, we studied how music overall impacts a person's mental health. As we cleansed and explored the data, we thought it was necessary to get an overview of who participated in the study, just to get an initial understanding of the data first. And so we first wanted to know what the listeners' favorite genres were, and as you can see in this word cloud, rock, pop, metal, video game music, and classical music seem to be the top 5 favorite genres. More than half of the participants were in the 18 to 35 age group, as seen in this chart below, and then people tend to listen to 1 to 3 hours of music per day. It looks like Spotify is the most popular streaming service by a large margin, and as you can see on these donut charts, most people are not composers nor instrumentalists, but do like to explore music. So moving on to the next slide, after we got a good understanding of who participated in the study, we wanted to dive deeper into how people's favorite genres can contribute to their mental health, specifically looking at anxiety, depression, OCD, and insomnia. With the data given, we assumed that participants gave themselves a self-evaluation score on how severe their levels were, with 10 being the highest. We assumed that listeners who listen to rock, metal, pop, rap, would have higher levels of anxiety, depression, OCD, and insomnia compared to listeners who prefer classical music or lo-fi or jazz, who we assumed would have lower levels. And the reasoning behind that is when you think of rock, metal, and rap, they're usually fast-paced, high-energy music, that often have explicit lyrics and aggressive undertones that would heighten negative emotions or stress. But with these charts, as you can see here, we found the opposite to be true. It seems like lo-fi and folk seem to be the genres that had the highest scores for mental illness. For these charts, we use the average scores so that it would even out any anomalies. So after looking at the genres, we wanted to take a look at how our listeners' involvement in the music industry contributed to their mental health, and Patrick will walk you through that analysis.
Thank you for that, Manette. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Valera, and I analyzed if instrumentalists, composers, and being exploratory in music had an effect on mental health. We did that by taking the average scores of their anxiety, depression, insomnia, and OCD from all the participants in this survey. Our hypothesis was that having a creative outlet, such as being an instrumentalist, a composer, or being exploratory with music, would lessen their scores. However, that turned out to not be the case. As we can see with these graphs here, instrumentalists and composers and being exploratory with music almost had no effect on whether or not a person scored higher or lower on their mental health, because we can see that it's about even. Possible reasons for this: we believe that an instrumentalist might be feeling pressure to create fresh new music. A composer might feel the pressure of having to perform in front of large crowds. And being exploratory with music, it could mean that you're looking for something that you're not really sure what you're trying to find. One interesting to note is that being an instrumentalist, a composer, or being exploratory of music, 75% of our participants had said that it improved their mental health, whereas less than 25% said that it had no effect, and less than 3% said that it worsened their mental health. Now I'm going to pass it over to Keith, and he's going to give us our conclusion.
After analyzing the data from the survey, we were able to collect several interesting insights about music and how it relates to mental health. Most listeners were 18 to 35, listened to rock or pop, used Spotify as their streaming service, listened to about 2 hours of music per day, were not instrumentalists or composers, but do enjoy exploring other music. Even though it can be assumed that listeners of rock, metal, or rap would have higher levels of mental anxiety, depression, OCD, insomnia, it was found that listeners of lo-fi and folk had higher levels. The recommendations. The data wasn't quite clear regarding what song each respondent listened to, which would have given more insight into the effect on their mental health. Was each respondent played a song from their favorite genre, improving their mental health? Or were they played a song from a genre they don't really prefer, worsening it? Although we noticed a correlation between beats per minute and improving mental health, there was still the missing variable regarding what song the respondent actually listened to. But the fact that there is such an obvious tie to BPM and mental health improvement, it's worth looking into. Approximately 90% of respondents aged 10 to 17 responded favorably to more upbeat music. This is also a graphic that is certainly worth delving deeper into. And that concludes our presentation on the analysis of music and how it relates to mental health. Thanks for watching.
All right, that is fantastic. So I wanted to ask Monette, who's here with us from the team tonight. Hello, Monette.
Hi.
I wanted to just kind of ask your thoughts about, like, you guys put out a pretty impressive set of visual graphics as well as like analysis. And I know you guys are working through that in the program itself. How useful was participating in the code putting for you as a student?
Yeah, I mean, this is my second time and my teammates' first time, and it's just a great learning experience. There were some things from my first code putting that I learned, and I didn't want to make the same mistakes on. So I was sort of just trying to lead our team to try to have like a great story. Definitely stick under that 7-minute mark. Things like that we can like improve on. And then, but I think for speaking on behalf of my other teammates, they were just in here like ready to learn, just like get real world experience, like working with a team, like how can we brainstorm and collaborate on like what parts of the data that we can use, like what trends, patterns, insights can we look at. What I think it's a good point that Keith mentioned. We really wanted to see how BPM could play a factor in this analysis, but then we're just like, okay, well, we just had a hard time seeing, okay, well, I think it totally depends on like what song was played, or at what context was BPM used in this study, and we just couldn't make those kinds of assumptions. We didn't want to make any insights unclear. And so, but it was really, I mean, just talking about all that and just hearing other people's perspectives, it's just really insightful. And yeah, we're just open-minded and wanted to learn from each other.
It's been pretty interesting to see the conclusions, and this happens quite frequently where we give our teams the options of like 10 data sets or 5 data sets, and teams inevitably are drawn to the same data sets. And so I feel like we need to do a code putting on what motivates teams to pick the same data sets, because you guys have all picked the same so far, but each team is really pulling different analysis and focused on different pieces. And it's just fascinating. I think the beats per minute this time around, the difference between like the lo-fi and the rates of depression versus the higher beats per minute, fascinating piece there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there was when I did September, I forget, there was several teams who focused on a certain set of data set. And it's interesting to see how we'll all just, we'll always tend to like one, I guess it just means that we're all, I mean, who isn't into music and who isn't into mental health? So it was
definitely
just
speaking to all of the people.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Burnett. I really appreciate you being able to be here and answer some questions. And thank you guys for the great video. We have one more team for tonight. So just very quickly, that Monette's team was the Neuro Notes with Keith Showalter, Patrick Valera, and Monette Wagner. Our last one for the evening is Peaky Blinders. And that team is Victoria Freezer and Abdullahi Moose. But before we do that, there's a couple of questions in the YouTube chat that I thought I'd ask the whole group. So one of the questions that Portia had was, how many weeks are you guys into the program? So what's the kind of average? Where's everyone at there?
Graduate.
Oh, congratulations.
I finished just at the end of November.
Yes.
All right, congratulations.
October 30th, I think.
All right.
I graduated.
Natasha.
I'm on Sprint 5.
Okay.
I'm on Sprint 5 as well, but I started towards the end of August.
All right. And then Monette, I'm sorry, I cut you off earlier.
Oh, I graduated in September.
Fantastic. So some graduates. And then do you guys happen to know about your teammates?
Patrick graduated and Keith is on Sprint 5.
Fantastic. So a really great mix of in the middle of the program and graduates. And then I think this is a great one to ask for all of our second timers like Tasha and Manette and the others. Alba wanted to know, what do we need to pay attention to as a first time participant? Advice, thoughts, warnings?
I'm a first timer. Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead, Monette. Go ahead.
Okay. Definitely reiterating points of your story throughout your presentation, from introduction to the body and conclusion, and just making sure you have a hypothesis that you stick to, and you reinforce that through all your visualizations consistently. That's
fantastic.
Yeah, that's
and then Tasha, I called on you because your first time, but you've had a wild experience.
Yeah.
So knowing that, like, what would be a good piece of advice for first timers?
I would say trust yourself, like honestly, trust yourself. I know that you're nervous and this is the first time that you're really getting to work on something outside of what we're normally working on, but just trust yourself, because that's really what got us through. That's the reason why we're able to, even after everything happened, we were still like, we want to present, we want to work with our peers, we want to see what it's like to work with everybody still. And that was the whole purpose of it. So even though it was a different experience, we still wanted to, it was so awesome to hear how we all picked the same thing, how we all had a different mindset, how we all approached it differently. It was like really wonderful to be able and be present to see that. And we would have missed out on it if we didn't trust ourselves and say, no, we're still going to show up and we're still know that we can present and do a great job.
Now, I think both of those are really great points, right? Points of personal reflection when you guys are in there, but then also that piece around the project and making sure you're really hitting all of those hypothesis pieces in your analysis and weaving that storytelling in as well. Really important. All right, we have one more presentation, and then I will get to some more questions that we have in the YouTube chat, as well as any questions or thoughts you guys have before we wrap up for the evening. So our last one, like I said, is Peaky Blinders. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is Victoria Freezer and Abdulrahim Muse. Here we go.
Hello everyone, this is our analysis on BPM. Is it the key to our health? Our team name is the Peaky Blinders. We're made up of 2 team members. My name is Victoria.
Hi, my name is AJ.
The data we decided to focus on is the gym members data set. This data covers the gym members' exercise routines, physical attributes, and fitness metrics. This data also includes things like participants' age, BPM in various contexts, so the max, min, average, and resting rate, session length, workout type, and workout frequency. To get ready for our analysis, luckily we did not have to do much data cleaning. The data was complete with no null values. The biggest calculations we had to complete for this analysis were a few calculated fields to group our participants into cohorts and group their frequency of workouts together. We were also able to do some calculations to make our labels clearer for readers when they view our analysis. For this analysis, resting BPM was used for our calculations.
We performed this analysis based on a few key components. First, we acknowledge that resting BPM can be improved by exercise. We also realized that BPM can be an indication of heart health, longevity, and point doctors to potential health problems. In our brief research, we also learned that these things are important because heart disease is still the #1 cause of death in the United States, according to the 2018 data. Because of this, we believe that anyone worried about their heart health can utilize these findings to influence their fitness goals. So for our first visual, We decided to look at the participants' ages in 3 groups: 18 to 30, 31 to 45 years old, and 46 to 59. We also grouped their habits by 2 to 3 workouts per week versus 45 workouts per week. A few things we noticed were that in the 18 to 30-year-olds, 45 workouts per week yielded the best results for BPM, close to 61 beats per minute. 31 to 45-year-olds were able to get the lowest results with similar BPM while also doing 4 to 5 workouts per week. 46 to 59-year-olds had the highest BPM overall, but they did have lower BPM results when only doing 2 to 3 workouts per week. If you want to change the frequencies at all while looking at this visual, you could change the slider here on the top right.
Our next step in our analysis was to look at workout type versus session duration. We grouped the session duration by workouts 1 hour or more and under an hour. One significant thing that we noticed was that the HIIT workouts are not an ideal type of workout to do when lowering your BPM. For cardio workouts, ages 31 to 45 saw the best results with either length of workout. For strength type workouts, ages 18 to 30 saw success with the lowest BPM with 58 beats per minute. Finally, in the yoga workouts, 18 to 30-year-olds saw success in the longer workouts, while 46 to 59-year-olds also saw success with shorter workouts. If you're interested in isolating the age groups, you can click on some of the filters on the right side, right here at the top.
For our next step in analysis, we wanted to only isolate the type of workouts again without the time measure. In our simplified version, we noticed immediately that yoga again yielded the best results for 18-year-olds to 30-year-olds and 46-year-olds to 59-year-olds. Cardio yielded the best results for 31 to 45-year-olds. By now, we were starting to see the clear trend in what types of workouts might be best for people wanting to improve heart health, but there is one more factor that we haven't covered yet. The last factor that we needed to look at is how each type of workout affected each gender. Like we mentioned in our scatter plot visual, HIIT was very obviously not the best choice for lowering BPM. Visually, this was easy to see in women, especially with 65 BPM. While there's not a huge difference between the lowest BPMs in women for cardio and yoga, it should be noted that there is a difference. For men, cardio and yoga still yielded the lowest results for BPM with slightly higher results of 62 beats per minute.
Lastly, here is our dashboard where you're able to see all of our results to our analysis. AJ and I believe that the best way to look at this data is to isolate any particular group by clicking the filters here on the right for each group. That will give you a clear picture depending on the age group you want recommendations for, and still have those details all about frequency, type, length, and workout. First, we would like to note that we are not medical professionals or well-versed in fitness strategies, but we do have some recommendations based on the data we've analyzed. Overall, our conclusion is that cardio and yoga are the best types of workout to help lower BPM. HIIT is not the recommended workout to lower BPM to the lowest it can be. For 18 to 30-year-olds, we recommend yoga and strength training to help lower BPM and to keep workouts under an hour 4 to 5 times a week. For 31 to 45-year-olds, cardio is the best type of workout, and also to do shorter workouts with a frequency of 4 to 5 times a week. Lastly, for 46 to 59-year-olds, yoga seems to work well to lower BPM in shorter workouts for 2 to 3 times a week. We hope that you have enjoyed hearing about our analysis results. Thank you for watching.
All right, that was fantastic. From one BPM to the next, right? So we have Victoria here. She was able to hop on last minute, so this is super wonderful timing. I'm very, very excited about this. Victoria, things you don't know is that, oh dear, stop talking, Victoria, not there. look over here. Okay, so what you don't know is that every other team has picked also to talk
BPM.
about BPMs, but beats per minute in terms of music, not heart rate.
Interesting.
So
Love
very
that.
fascinating. I have definitely learned from your presentation that in my age demographic, I need to be just focused on BPMs to lower my BPMs. So I am gonna take up more dancing. So thank you so much for joining. I know that it's been kind of a chaotic ride, but Victoria, like let's talk for a minute about the project and study work coordination, right? I know there is a question in our YouTube chats about how teams are working through that coordination between project and work and study and home life. And I know like this is a great moment for you to talk about that.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so sorry for being late to the game, everybody, but I saw a split second of everybody's presentation. So yeah, the first thing that AJ and I did, I went over all of the data sets and I did a little bit of a crazy thing. I wrote all of the headers of all of our columns down, and I highlighted all of the things that I thought were similar, because I was seeing like kind of a theme going on with the data sets that we had available to us. And then we kind of just talked it out, talked about the things that we noticed, and we really actually were about to do the music BPM data set. We were this close to it, but then we got a little overwhelmed when we saw all of the genres of music. We were going to go deep into that. And then we just went, whoa, that's a little bit too crazy. But then we realized the BPM thing. I said, well, don't they say that BPM is a good indicator of like if you're healthy or something, that low resting heart rate? I had a doctor tell me that once. I needed to chill out and do more things to bring my heart rate down. So true. Still need to do that. So I learned a lot from my own presentation on just self-reflecting from that. But anyways, that's kind of how we came to the conclusion of what we were going to do. And then our next steps just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Fantastic. No, I think it was really great. Here's a question for kind of anyone, not just Victoria, but in terms of balancing your studying it and you're kind of working through the cohort, working through the modules and things, do you have any thoughts on things you've learned, strategies you've learned on how to balance all of that and then switch up? And now you've got to go hard for 5 days, right? Like, how does that work with life?
I can also answer that for myself again.
Please do.
Well, my partner and I, I tend to go like hard on things anyways. That's just how I am. I hyperfixate on things and I just go deep into it. And that's just kind of what I've done. I'm on sprint 5 and I haven't been doing TripleTen for very long. So that's just because I have to get into that mode. And once I'm in that mode and realize what I'm set out to do, then I just kind of keep going. So when we, started the project, AJ and I were like setting aside the time as much as possible. And we just kind of knew that it would be dedicated to that in this, week of time. But again, that's just how I am personality wise. And it just, I've got deadlines and I've got other things I need to do, and it's easier to get it done while I'm motivated. So that's just kind of where I was at with this.
Yeah, thanks. That's really good to know. I mean, I think setting out that set time is definitely a great strategy. That's one of the things I did is I woke up every day at the same time. And before I went to work, I had like 2 or 3 hours. And so I was churning out whatever I could churn out in those times. And then after I have 2 children, after they went to bed, then I was churning out another 2 hours and really carving that time out as like non-negotiable. But I think there's a lot of new people in our in the BIA program or in TripleTen in general. I know Portia said that she just joined on December 5th. So congratulations and welcome to the club. All right. Well, that was our last presentation tonight. So that was the Peaky Blinders. But when that was Victoria, which we've spoken with, and Abdullahi, which goes by AJ. Like, you couldn't tell us that, AJ? Come on. All right. So thank you guys so very much. What a fun night. Especially talking about the BPM to the BPM. That has been very amusing. I do want to say that I really appreciate the courage that it takes for all of you to come on the live YouTube where millions can see you and present all of your hard work. It is a short time frame, and you guys have done an amazing job. Thank you guys so very much. So for all of us here at TripleTen, this is going to conclude our December code pudding. Thanks for everyone at home watching and participating in our YouTube chat. To cast your vote for the favorite project, please leave a comment either here in the YouTube chat, or if you're a student, you can go ahead and leave a vote in the Discord poll. Our results and winners are going to be announced on December 18th in Discord and in socials everywhere. None of this would be possible without all the behind the scenes work. So I want to thank everyone who worked behind the scenes for this code pudding. That's Arena, Omar, Alyssa, Elena, Olivia, Yulia, Arena, Nadia, and of course my cat Sharkbait. He's an unpaid intern. Thanks again for all of the participants and students. My name is Tiffany Hall. You can find me at Tiffany Codes on Instagram, and you can probably find my cat trying to figure out how to wrap his Spotify now. Thank you guys so very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again. Bye.